What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we are actually back home. Alright, we're back from our vacation, and we got a little bit of rest, but now it's back to the old grind. So hopefully you enjoyed some of our pre-uploaded videos where we showcased our rental teams on the ranked ladder. I still have a few more to showcase, just because, you know, the Moltres one is really nice. Just because, you know, it won a tournament already, and then we have the Basque Legion Thunder scene that we have to showcase as well, with another good tournament result. But those are videos for the future. Today I want to talk about 5 dragons that you should be using, you know, besides Dragonite, right? So I've gotten a few messages from our viewers that are tier sub subscribers, and they've requested, were like, you know, I don't want to just keep using Dragonite as my only dragon type, or even like Hisuian Goodra. That playstyle doesn't suit me. Are there other dragons that are viable this format that I can use, right? And the answer is yes, and we're going to cover some of these dragons today. You already see it on the screen. Some of them have, you know, pretty good results already. Some of them are a little bit of a stretch, and you know, they have mixed results still, but a little bit more work and exploring needs to be done, you know, to try and make use of them, you know, and put them on the right team. So the dragons that we're going to discuss are Dragapult, Baxcalibur, Roaring Moon, Garchomp, and Salamence, right? So even in like Regulation C, you know, I feel like these were also like relatively good options, you know, to put on teams. You know, in particular the first 3, you know, with Dragapult, Baxcalibur, Roaring Moon, they all have like good results across the board in many different tours, and that's also the case here in Regulation D. And we're going to talk about some of those results and also look at some of the teams that have utilized them to get some of those good results. And then the last 2 are like a little bit more of a stretch, but they have like some results, some mix you know, options here that you can use with Garchomp and Salamence. You know, these are the 2 that feel like they need a little bit more exploring, but they have been used and they have some tour results, so we can discuss how you can utilize both of these. But, you know, primarily, at least these 3, you know, if you want another option besides Dragonite, yes, these are the ones that you can focus on and really utilize to their fullest potential. They're a lot easier to pilot as well than some of the other ones, of course, and, you know, just overall, they do a bunch of damage. They do great into a lot of different meta threats, and they each offer a unique toolkit that the other doesn't give, where you can, you know, capitalize off of them and build teams around it. So this way they can do relatively well, you know. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start with Dragapult over here. Okay, so back here, looking at Dragapult. So basically, you know, think back to Regulation C, where it was running a choice band set alongside, you know, Chien-Pao over here, and this is pretty much the mainstay to try and utilize it this format. So like, instead of Dragonite Chien-Pao, Dragapult Chien-Pao is also very, very good. And the whole idea is that, you know, with Dragapult being, you know, base 142 speed, you know, you are the fastest dragon. And I always remember what Kevin from Pokesports always used to say in Sword and Shield: if you are the faster dragon, you always win, right? And that's true to a large extent. And, you know, with Dragapult, unless, you know, other options like Regieleki or, you know, Booster Energy, Fluttermane, or Iron Bundle are running around, you are the fastest thing in the format, right? And a lot of those times, you know, the Flutter booster sets, you know, they're running modest, so they're going for special attacks anyway. So that means you're going to outspeed the Fluttermanes as well, and then no one's really using Regieleki just yet. So that's also a thing. And then Iron Bundle is still like a little bit lower in the usage than it was in Regulation C. So Dragapult has some pretty good use here. And then, of course, you know, with you being the ghost type, you can pressure those Fluttermanes, especially since you go first before them. But a very standard set here is Dragon Darts, Phantom Force, right? These are your 2 mainstay moves. This does a lot of damage, especially next to Chien-Pao. You chunk things very, very hard, right? And then if there is a Fluttermane, then the partner is taking both of these hits, right? So that's also another good use of Dragapult there. And then, of course, Phantom Force allows you to dodge an attack, and then next turn, you know, you just go through Protect, and then you just click, you know, the Phantom Force, and then you're able to just do so much damage, right? And then over here you have U-Turn, okay? And then at the last move here, you have Terra Blast. And now in Regulation C, you used to see stuff like, you know, Terra Steel, Terra Blast, Dragapult. So now you have the Steel Terra to go against, you know, the Fluttermane matchup. But now also what you're starting to see a little bit more is actually just straight up Terra Ghost, Terra Blast, Dragapult, right? Because sometimes you don't really want to go for the Phantom Force, right? And you don't even want to go for the Dragon Darts. You want like some very strong, hard-hitting Ghost move that, you know, you don't want to take a turn to utilize, right? Because then they can just switch and, you know, have a better position against you next turn. So sometimes you just need like immediate Terra Ghost damage, and then you remove your Dragon typing anyway, right? So if you are weak to fairies, then you remove that weakness right off the bat. Okay, so this is like one thing that was, you know, being utilized in Regulation D with Dragapult, right? This is the set. Then, of course, you have the Chenpao, you know, with the Sword of Ruin, just able to help Dragapult and itself just do so much damage, right? And then if you just take a look at some of these teams that have been utilizing it, the first one right off the bat that's being used a lot right now is from, you know, Michael's team with this second place Nino Tour team. If you just take a look at the set here, right, it's, you know, Chenpao, Dragapult, of course. Then you have, you know, Heatran and Rillaboom. So now you have a fire type, you have a grass type. And now you also add Farigiraf here. So Farigiraf is a very, very nice niche pick, right? Just because you're able to deny priority moves. You're able to also go for Trick Room. And then that also helps the Heatran do a bunch of damage, especially the Assault Vest Heatran is very, very useful. You can also go for Imprison Trick Room, you know, just to deny the Trick Rooms altogether. And then now you just have like a bunch of fast options like Flutter Mane, Dragapult, and Chenpao just doing a bunch of damage, right? Sub Flutter Mane is really good here. Can also help you stall out those Trick Room turns with the lead. Stopping Tantrum Rillaboom as well, right? You know, great ground coverage on Rillaboom. I always like this move, you know, just to be able to pressure stuff like, you know, Iron Hands or an opposing Heatran, forcing them to Terra into like Terra Grass, and then Chenpao can just finish him off with like an Ice move up here, right? But again, Dragapult fits in very, very nicely here. Like, can you put Dragonite here? Yeah, you can, but like, you know, Dragapult, you know, gives you some things that, you know, again, Dragonite can't give you. You know, you're faster, of course. You know, the ghost typing is really good, and then you have a nice, really a nice strong pivot move with U-turn. You know, good against some of the dark types. You know, just in case Dragapult doesn't have the positioning that it has on that particular turn. So that's also a good use of it. Then if you look here, another tour, you know, the Hoenn State Sky Cup. There's another good Dragapult team here. I think I saw it over here. Yeah, again, I know this one's only like a 4D result, but if you just look at this, like, again, similar core here with like Chenpao along with Flutter Mane, Heatran here. Then you just have, you know, Iron Hands, you know, and then Amoonguss redirection support. So another way to utilize this. And then at the same time, again, this is Terra Fairy, you know, Dragapult there. So that's also interesting. You know, might even help you against some of like the dragon moves that might be running around, but this is an interesting one. But again, you still have U-turn, you still have Terra Blast, right? So that's also very, very interesting. Then if we go over here into, you know, Tommy's tour that he always likes to host on a Tuesday. Now you have Chenpao along with Hisuian, Arcanine, Amoonguss, Goldango core, right? And this one has double edge, which is actually really, really cool, just because, like, you know, sometimes your Phantom Force or your Terra Blast just can't quite hit some of those other Pokemon, right? So then you just go for like a hard-hitting double edge with Chenpao and just does so much damage, right? So that's also really cool there. But again, the whole idea with these Dragapult teams is, you know, you're just partnering it with Chenpao and then just surrounding it with like Fire, Water, Grass cores or like solid, consistent options that can really utilize the Chenpao, right? A lot of strong physical options, like for example the Hisuian Arcanine over here, and then Iron Hands over here can also support along with Amoonguss, just like a good support, bulky defensive backbone that can let Dragapult and Chenpao do the damage that they need to do, right? And a lot of these teams also, you'll see like Dragapult and Flutter Mane on the same team, right? But even though they're both ghost types, which sometimes you don't often do, you know, but because they're both fundamentally different Pokemon, you can get away with that, right? Almost like Grimmsnar or Flutter Mane, you can't use both of them on the same team, you know, just because they are fundamentally, you know, different Pokemon, right? So Dragapult has a good use here. Again, Choice Band hurts a lot, you know, nothing else needs to be said. Has like good tour results, you know, I just showed you like a few of the latest ones, but if you go down even deeper, you know, it has a really, really good results overall. So yeah. Next up, I also want to look at Baxcalibur here. So like Bax is actually quite good into a lot of those Tailwind offense teams, or even some of like the balance stuff, just because of the coverage that it can give you with Ice, along with a priority move, and then, you know, Glaive Rush just does so much damage, right? So the idea here with Baxcalibur, like again, very standard set here with Glaive Rush. Yeah, there we go, Glaive Rush. Ice Shard is your priority move, of course, and then you'll have like Icicle Crash, and then maybe something like Protect here, and then, you know, you could have the lens, the amulet, not the lens, the amulet here. So this way, you know, you don't suffer at the hands of the Intimidate stuff. But again, like if you just look at some of the Pokemon that Baxcalibur can do well against, like you do well into all the genies, right? Because they're all flying types, so you can deny their Tailwind stuff. You can just click Ice Shard, pick up KOs, right? Then also like Amoonguss, Rillaboom, these are all Pokemon that can kind of drop also to like the ice coverage that Baxcalibur can give you. And then at the same time, you know, just like, even if you just do something like this with like an Assault Vest with like Earthquake now, right? And then now you can just go like Terra Poison, okay? So now you can resist the Flutter Mane matchup, and then you have a hard-hitting Earthquake damage that can also, you know, be used against like Iron Hand, Chi-Yu, again, opposing Flutter Mane. You know, Heatran also suffers now at the hands of this, you know, and then Goldengo is also rising, so now you have something against that, right? So, you know, Baxcalibur can be used on a lot of different, you know, balance teams, and we got a couple of them here, but I really feel like people can utilize this a little bit more, especially just like, you know, base 145 attack is just really, really good overall. So if we just take a look at this team over here from Vio Phoenix, which again, I like this team a lot. Again, you have like Intimidate, you have Redirection Support, and then you just have like Flutter Mane, Heatran, you know, for your good strong special attack core, and then Rapid Strike Urshifu, right? So Dragon type, Fairy type, Steel type, Fire, Water, Grass core here. It makes a lot of sense. You know, 6-3 record in this Warrior Regulation Detour. This is a loaded dice set actually, you know, with Icicle Spear, so that's also really nice. You know, you can break potential sashes that way. And then here is that Terra Poison like we discussed. So this is actually a really, really cool way to use it. And then what ends up happening here is like, you know, with the Intimidate support, you actually can do well into like some of the, you know, physical attackers. You can lift their hits. You do have to watch out for Urshifu, of course, right? You know, because Urshifu can do well into Baxcalibur, you know, just one-shot it with like close combat stuff. But again, if you can intimidate it, you know, and again, it's the close combat you can intimidate, not the Surging Strikes, which is the one you care about most. Then you're in a decent spot here, right? And then of course you have Redirection Support to really help you there. And then Flutter Mane also does relatively well into Urshifu. So you have a lot of answers here, you know, into the Urshifu matchup. So this kind of 6 is actually really relatively nice. Then if you look at this team over here, nope, this is another one. Oops, I lost it right here. This is the one. Full first team, you know, from the Kalos Cal qualifier. This is like an almost 80-person tournament. Kind of a similar idea here. So like again, Heatran, Flutter Mane, Urshifu, and then here's a Rillaboom now along with Amoonguss. So again, still following the VGC core rules of, you know, a Dragon Fairy Steel type Fire, Water, Grass core. But now you have Amoonguss and Rillaboom on the same team. And again, you can get away with this because, like I said, they are both fundamentally different Pokemon. This is a Life Orb set, you know, with Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, Glaive Rush, and Protect. So this Baxcalibur is meant to do a bunch of damage, right? And again, the substitute will really help you against some of the Trick Room teams. Here's Flutter Mane, Icy Wind for a little bit of speed control, along with Choice Specs. But again, how many priority moves do you have? We have 1, we have 2 here, and again, we have a Fake Out Mom with Rillaboom and Redirection, so that also helps protect the Baxcalibur a little bit more, right? So another cool way to utilize it, but again, it's just really good on some of these balanced teams, right? You don't need Chenpal with Baxcalibur per se, all right? You just want to slap it on there onto like some of these balanced teams, and it can do relatively well, right? You can never go wrong with balance. But again, like, just think about all these grass types that are running around that Baxcalibur can do well against. And then at the same time, you know, just watch out for the Urshifu. But, you know, Bax is something that is really underrated. And I think people should explore it a little bit more, especially, you know, with Worlds coming up soon. You know, just those hard-hitting Ice Shards, man. You know, you never can underestimate them. Okay, so now we're going to go into Roaring Moon, which is another one that, again, I think is like really, really underrated. And it actually just won like a tour. You know, our buddy Neil used it. So, you know, Neil has a lot of faith in Roaring Moon, as do I, right? I feel like it's a really cool mon, and it can do a lot in Regulation D if people are willing to use it and explore it. So, you know, very standard set here where you can just run like Acrobatics with, you know, Booster Energy, Terra Flying, right? So this way you're going to do a bunch of damage. You know, you can remove your weakness to fighting move from the Urshifu Close Combat, for example. Now the Fairy moves are also neutral against you, so you can always use that. Then you can just really just utilize the set with like Dragon Dance and then Protect. And then your Dark type move of choice, you can use Crunch or Jaw Lock. You know, something like Jaw Lock is pretty good just because you can stop them from pivoting, right? But if you like Crunch, that's also totally fine. But like a very standard set here where you can just use just like a sample EV spread. You can definitely go Adamant here because you're going Dragon Dance. And then, you know, to be able to help you set out, this is usually paired with some Fake Out mod like either Iron Hands or something like Rillaboom, right? So then this can also help you set it up. And then you also have like Amoonguss as another option to try and utilize the Dragon Dance setup, but very standard moveset here is to go adamant, but just go to about like, 164 or 165, and this will outspeed the Jolly Urshifus at the very least. And then you just go to 207 here just to optimize against, chip damage from weather. Then you can just put 1 point in special defense. You're already pretty bulky as it is in that department. And then just honestly, just if you notice, if you put 1 point here, you already hit the EV jump, right, in the first adamant nature stat here. So you can just leave it like that. Or if you want to go to the second jump, you can just go to 84 over here and just put like 12 points here in defense. So you can definitely do either the first jump or the second jump, but either way, you can just do this and then just leave the rest here into defense. So this way you have like some defensive bulk, which can help you in the long run. But this is the idea, with Roaring Moon. You're just going for Dragon Dances to outspeed pretty much the entire format, with Dragon Dance, and then just do a bunch of damage with like Acrobatics and Crunch, right? And if we just take a look at some of the teams here, so let's look at Neil's team first. So he also utilized a Fake Out Mon, with Iron Hands here. Here's the redirection support from the Amoonguss. Here's Gyarados, and then here's Fluttermane Chio. This is basically a Regulation C team, but it still works in Regulation D just because of, the toolkit that he has from each of these Pokemon, right? So again, he went with Jaw Lock instead, of Crunch, which is, again, totally fine. Specs, Fluttermane, and Chiyu goggles, hits very, very hard, and you can always get around Amoonguss with, like, safety goggles here. Snarl's really nice. That's a great tech choice there. I love Snarl Chiyu. And then, of course, Clear Smog is still, like, pretty good against, stuff like Goodra, and even the Dondozas that are starting to rise again, so I think you have to go with it. Then, of course, the Gyarados here gives you Intimidate support, and then from there, Thunder Wave, good speed control there. Taunt is really good, right? So this way you can deny the setup from Goodras, and then as well as like Amoonguss is going for Spore, or even like Trick Room in general, you can do that. And then, you just have a standard hit move with like Waterfall here. So this is actually really cool. And then at the same time, you even have like Icy Wind, Choice Specs, Fluttermane, which we just covered, in the previous Pokemon that we were looking at. So really like this a lot. It's got a lot of damage mitigation with Intimidate and Snarl. You have redirection support with the Amoonguss. You have Fake Out with the Iron Hands. You have speed control, either with the active version with Dragon Dance, or you have Icy Wind here, Thunder Wave. Really good team. So shout out to Neil for, having a lot of those VGC condiments that you want in your team building recipe, as we say. Right, but there was another Roaring Moon team that also top cut this tournament. This one was the winning team, but if we go down a little bit, Mr. Awesome over here, it's a cool name, right? Now he also utilized a Roaring Moon set here. This one went with Crunch, and then the other three moves are the same. This is still Terra Flying, and then here's your Fake Out Mon in the Rillaboom instead of the Iron Hands. Here's Zapdos here providing Tailwind support, so a little bit more speed control here, and then this is a Rocky Helmet Zapdos set. I like this a lot. Then you have Heatran here, of course, very much appreciates grassy terrain, so this way the earthquake damage is reduced against it. And then, of course, a straight up Fire Water Grass core here. And then over here, you just have a Goldengo to also, give you that steel coverage here. So I like this team a lot as well. Very balanced, lots of tools. You have speed control, you got a Fake Out Mon, okay? There is no Intimidate here, but that's okay. You don't necessarily need it. And just like Goldengo is another Pokemon that's like, doing relatively well in Regulation D that not too many people are talking about. Like, Make It Rain, Shadow Ball damage is actually really good in this format at the moment, right? So shout outs to that. But again, Roaring Moon, you pressure the Rillabooms, the Amoongusses, the Urshifus with your flying coverage there. You have Crunch, for your stab dart damage that does a lot of damage, especially after Dragon Dance. And then again, just being able to outspeed the entire format in general, with Dragon Dance and just do a lot of damage, really separates Roaring Moon from a lot of these other dragons that, we've talked about thus far. Like Baxcalibur has priority, right? But now you have, and of course Salamence has Intimidate, but now Roaring Moon gives you that setup play with Dragon Dance, which, a lot of different teams just don't really have, right? Especially when you have like Dragonite just going for choice band stuff, nice. You are locked in the move, but like Roaring Moon, just a really cool Pokemon in general that, shout outs to, some of these players that have been utilizing it so far. But again, if you're looking to use another good, strong dragon type, I definitely recommend Roaring Moon. Just the fact that you can use these Dragon Dance plays to really punish the opponents is actually really nice. All right, next up here, we're looking at Garchomp here. So Garchomp, I feel like will always be like a pretty good mon, depending on the format, right? And some formats it's really good, and then other formats it just needs to be explored a little bit more to try and utilize it. But now that you have access to stuff like Tornadus and even Zapdos, Garchomp does relatively well with these two Pokemon, right? And I would just pick one or the other, whether you do like Garchomp Tornadus or Garchomp Zapdos. I don't think you need all three necessarily, but it would be good, like, because then you have good Earthquake synergy. But that's the idea here, right? You just pair Garchomp with one of these flying type Pokemon that can give you, Tailwind speed control, and then after that you can just, go hand with like Earthquake plays. And then from there, you just have like a good, strong balance team, for the rest of your squad, right? So from here, I would just do something like this, right? Slap on Flutter Mane, slap on Heatran. Okay, so now you got your Dragon Fairy Steel Core, and then you already have your Fire type here, so now you just need a Fire, Water, Grass Core, right? So then what I would do, you can just slap on literally Rillaboom here, and then Urshifu Rapid Strike, right? And now you just have like 5 meta Pokemon plus a Garchomp over here, right? But this is the way to really utilize it, right? Now, at the same time, Rillaboom's Grassy Terrain will neutralize Garchomp's Earthquake damage. So what you want to do instead is just, instead of going for Earthquake, you just go for Stomping Tantrum, right? But the idea with Garchomp is this, as far as like the format is concerned. So what you can do with Garchomp is like, you can capitalize off of this 102 speed. And this 102 speed is actually important because you outspeed the base 100s, right? You outspeed Urshifu, you outspeed Chiyu. Not that Urshifu was a base speed of 100 Pokemon anyway, but at the very least, like, also this Rough Skin ability is basically a built-in Rocky Helmet, right? So what you can do with Garchomp now is just make it super bulky, right? Where you're just able to take a bunch of damage and then just, capitalize off of Rough Skin and just deal chip damage back into stuff like Urshifu, Dragonite, and Chien-Pao, right? So you are forced to Terra in some of those situations relatively often. So you can just do something like Terra Fire or Terra Steel. Here, let's go Terra Fire, for example, here. So this way we can resist the Chien-Pao Ice Spinner for that matter. Okay, and then you can just go for like, Iron Head here. So now what you're able to do is just, snipe those Flutter Manes, and then at the same time you can just opt for Terra Steel if you're going to do the Iron Head set. Then you can do Rock Slide, which again is good into the Chien-Pao Dragonite matchup. Again, the Dragonites are more likely going to Terra because of that, but at the very least you have a move that can hit both for super effective damage, and then just simply protect here. And then some clear amulet set here, so this way you don't get Intimidate spammed by some of the Intimidators running around here. But, if you just consider some of the Pokemon that you can do well into, right? With your Ground, Steel, and Rock coverage. You can hit the Flutter Mane now. The Urshifu Rapid Strike, if you build this super bulky, so like, actually let me just do this quick EV spread here. So what you can do here is just EV of this Pokemon where you can like survive the double up from Dragonite and Chien-Pao, technically, right? So I would just do this, where we're hitting the second jump here in the attack stat here, and an 84 defense, I believe, can let you live the Dragonite E-Speed, along with the, Ice Spinner resist hit, if you are Terra Fire, for that matter, or even like Terra Steel. But then you just put like 20 defense here. This is really all you need, and then after Tailwind support, 125 is one of those magic speed tier numbers, because again, this will let you outspeed, modest Flutter Manes after like a +1 boost, if they don't even have a boost. So I always like 125 here on Garchomp. But again, this defensive bulk will help you survive the Dragonite Chien-Pao stuff. And then, you have the Terra type to be able to resist the Chien-Pao Ice Spinner. You could go Terra Fire. Also, again, if you don't want to get burned by some of these Will-O-Wisp users. So at the same time, this is what I would do. Right, and then from here, very standard here with like Tailwind. Sunny Day is actually really good here on this Garchomp team because you enable the Flutter Mane. You let Heatran do a little bit more damage with Heat Wave, which is exactly what you're going to run here. And then from here, you can just do like Taunt and then, Bleak Wind Storm, for example, right? And just utilize that idea. And then just go like, I don't know, either a Rocky Helmet here or just like the move that stops you from being faked out. I forget the move right at the top of my head. Oh my goodness, it's just escaping me. Oh, the Cloak. Yeah, the Covert Cloak, right? And then Flutter Mane here, just a very standard set, right? Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, Moonblast, and then Protect here. You can do Booster Energy on this Pokemon if you want, right? And then Heatran, Leftovers, Heat Wave, Earth Power, good special attack, ground coverage, Terra Blast. You can even do like Substitute even, right? And then just Protect, right? Terra Grass or Terra Bug, whichever one you prefer is really good. Rillaboom, you can do an Assault Vest here, right? And then just Fake Out, Wood Hammer, U-Turn, and something like knockoff, right? Good dark damage. You can also put Stomping Tantrum here, but I feel like we have our ground coverage covered here, right? And then the Urshifu Surging Strikes here. So you can also opt for like the Dark Urshifu. So this way you can like one-shot some of these Cresselias running around. So you can opt for that, or you can opt for another water type, like a Gyarados, for example. So that could be an idea. It's up to you, but you can just pretty much just do this, you know, with the Mystic Water set. Go Adamant, of course, with Surging Strikes, Close Combat, you know, Aqua Jet, and then Protect, right? I'm not going to do EVs here because I don't want to make this like a full Garchomp team building idea, but at the very least, this is like a very balanced Garchomp team, right? So if you want to request this team, you know, where I can fully EV this, feel free to go for the tier 3 sub. But this is pretty much it. Like Garchomp, like you look at the meta, right? So you got Iron Head for Flutter Mane, you got Rock Slide for Dragonite Chien-Pao, and other Tornadus teams, right? Then you also have a ground coverage move for Heatran. Iron Hands has trouble with Garchomp at the very least, right? And then Goldango has trouble with Garchomp a little bit. So, and then at the same time, Rough Skin can just chip those Urshifu Surging Strikes for big damage, and then you can just potentially KO it with like, you know, your Adamant Stomping Tantrum from your Garchomp, right? So, really good idea here with Garchomp. So hopefully more people try and utilize it a little bit better, because I feel like it could be a really good Pokemon moving forward. All right, last one here, and this is actually one of my favorites, of course. It is Salamence. This is something that I always like to try and use, you know, in every single format if you know me relatively well. We always try to make Salamence work because it's one of my, you know, old favorites growing up as a kid, right? So Salamence, unlike the other 4 dragons, you have a couple things that you can use to utilize its set. So first of all, you are a flying type, which means, again, you inherently don't need to go for a Terra flying, right? So you have dual wing beat, all right? And then at the same time, because you are a flying type, you're able to, you know, do relatively okay into Urshifu, right? Especially the Rapid Strike. You resist the water move, and then the fighting move you also resist, and then at the same time, if it's running a sash, dual wing beat, you just wipe the floor with it, right? So that's already a good niche for Salamence in itself. Then you add the fact that you have Intimidate, so now you're able to neutralize some of these other physical attackers that don't like getting intimidated. Now, that being said, again, you do have a weakness to the Flutter Mane, and you do have a weakness to other dragon types, as well as the Chien-Pao ice type, right? So then you have to just utilize your Terra types effectively, and you have to have some other options on your team. But Salamence is another Pokemon, again, that you can utilize relatively well, you know, depending on your set. You can definitely do like a bulky Rocky Helmet set, for example, where you can just chip a lot of these physical attackers like Dragonite and Chien-Pao. You can go Terra Fire here, where you can just, you know, resist those hits, and then just go super bulky defensively, right? And then you also get access to Tailwind, which is a really good idea here, you know, in some cases, to give your entire team speed control. You also get access to Iron Head, you know, which again will be good against the Flutter Mane matchup. So a lot of different ways you can utilize Salamence here. You even get like Stomping Tantrum here. Wait, what's your ground coverage move here besides Earthquake? I know you get something else here. So you get Bulldoze and Earthquake, right? So Bulldoze could be good, or even Earthquake for that matter, you know, when you're paired with like Zapdos or Tornadus. That's another thing you can do. Or you can just simply go Protect here, right? So you can go with like this bulky Salamence set, or you can even do like an Assault Vest set where you're just able to tank the Flutter Mane hits. And we have a calc for that already. So if we go 164 HP and 76 special defense with the Assault Vest, we can survive a modest 116 booster energy Flutter Mane Moonblast without any terrestrialization needed, right? So 191, I specifically went for that one first just because, you know, again, that's a nice VGC number where you're able to optimize against, you know, sand chip damage. And then from here, the Assault Vest, I just wanted a nice even number, while at the same time giving me the calc that I need to survive the Flutter Mane damage, right? Then from here, I just went first bump here in the attack stat. You know, I just want to be like a relatively bulky Salamence. 172 here. Again, this will outspeed, again, the 140s, the 140 mark that you want to hit, to be able to, again, outspeed the format under Tailwind, and then just dump the rest into defense like this, right? So now you are a bulky Adamant Salamence that is calced to survive that modest 116 Moonblast. Dual Wing Beat, Iron Head, relatively good. And again, you know, just like this set in general, you know, just being able to cycle Salamence, you know, going for like a bulky set like this and just Intimidate cycle, neutralizing Ursalunas for, you know, another instance where you can just utilize that. If you want to put a ground coverage here, you can. But again, Salamence is one of those options that you have to really explore to try and make it work. And it may not be as optimal as some of the dragons, but is it viable and is it playable? Yes, it is, right? Would I bring it to the World Championships? Absolutely not. All right, but if you wanted to use it, this is a set that you can utilize it, and we do have a tournament result here from Quiverin from the Nino Tour, and he got 6-3 with it, so shout out to him. And here, it's a safety goggles set with Terra Steel, you know, with the same set that we just suggested, Iron Head, Dual Wing Beat, Protect, and Tailwind. So good speed control all around here, helping the Chiyu, Iron Bundle, and Regieleki, you know, outspeed a lot of different things. And then, of course, Terra Steel just to be able to snipe Flutter Maids. Another good physical attack here with a Zoom Roll along with Indeedee. Oh, this is not the Belly Drum play here. Never mind. But this is an Assault Fist, a Zoom Roll. You know, 4 attacks here. Can do relatively well here. This is Explosion Regieleki. I don't know how often Quiverin clicked Explosion on this Aleki. There's no Ghost type here, right? Or even like Terra Ghost here. So this is interesting. But hey, I'm not going to fault the result here. But, you know, you can definitely utilize this set, you know, if you want to try and explore Salamence. I think it definitely needs Dual Wing Beat and it definitely needs Iron Head. Tailwind is also pretty good, and Protect. Now, if you want to fit some other coverage move here besides Iron Head into like something like, you know, Earthquake, for example, or, oh wait, by the way, I made a mistake here. We are Tailwind, Protect with an Assault Vest set. That was for like my Clear Amulet set. Yeah, all right, I digress. Now you can use this. Okay, Earthquake, and now some other coverage move here. Now you can just put in something like Dragon Claw, for example, right? Now, that being said, you do have other good physical moves here, right? For example, you do have fire moves here. You do have Fire Fang, which is also pretty cool. You also have, what else? You also have Rock Slide here, so that's also relatively cool. Okay, and then do you have Ice Fang? I think you do, right? I do remember seeing like Ice Fang at some point. Nope. Wait, let's see. No, actually no Ice Fang. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, but anyway, you know, 4 attacks here. You know, this is again a very, very standard set here. Oh, you can also do like a special set, you know, where you can actually just put this on like Pelipper teams. Okay, and then just go for like a modest set. So let's put like Salamence here again. You know, again with the Tailwind here, you can do like Hydro Pump and then Tailwind, or even just like Hurricane and then Protect in this last slot. So you can just use this, right, at that point. But from here, you can just round out the rest of your typical Rain Corp with like Iron Hands and Amoonguss, right? And then some sweeper like Bascu Legion, right? Another good strong physical attacker. And then one other Pokemon here that you can use as like some filler slot, right? So you can utilize it on a rain team, but you know, again, Salamence is one of those Pokemon that you're gonna have to work a little bit harder to try and make work. But hopefully I gave you some ideas on how to use it, and hopefully I gave you some ideas on how to utilize all 5 of these dragons, because I think they're all very, very much viable. You know, you just have to like put it on the right team and take a little bit more time to explore it. But I feel like Dragapult will be the easiest one to try and fit in, you know, just because it's very easily slapped onto those Qianpao teams. So, you know, if you want to use Dragapult, you know, that would be like a very, very standard squad to try and use it on, right? So if you're interested in coaching, again, for the rest of the Regulation D format, make sure to sign up with the Tier 3 sub within the video description below. There's a link to sign up, as well as the comment section. There's a pinned comment to sign up, you know, for the Tier 3 sub. And then from there, we can build the squad together on a Discord call. I show you how to do all the EVs, kind of like what we do here in this video, a little bit. And then from there, we could even test the team a little bit and then just talk about certain matchups. And then if you're playing in a tournament or some, you know, Premier Challenge or some in-person local, you know, we'll give you a squad that you need to do well into those two, right? And we've done that already. You know, we've given a lot of different squads to a lot of people who have either top cut a tour or have even won the tour, right? And that's why we've been showcasing them on our channel with our battle content videos, because they all did relatively well, you know, in those tours. All right, so that'll be it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.